Hello, and welcome back to my corner. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time today, my name is Colin, and this is my book corner. It seems that now that we're all stuck at home because of quarantine, people are turning more and more towards books for comfort and as a way to escape from the stress of everything that's happening in the outside world. So I thought that I would sit down today and talk about some feel-good, comforty type books to help distract you from the outside world. I have split my book recommendations today into two categories: science fiction and fantasy, and then classic books, because I apparently read more classics than I thought I did. Over half these books are classics. For the first book, I have the Harper Hall trilogy by Anne McCaffrey. This is set in Anne McCaffrey's Pern universe. In this story, we follow Menely, who is the secret apprentice of Pern's most well-respected Harper. But this Harper, Patirin, dies before he can tell the world that his apprentice is actually a girl. So through this series, we follow Menely as she strikes out into the world, while everyone else is frantically looking for who they think is Patirin's male apprentice. If you are a fan of dragons, high fantasy, science fiction, action, dragons, and that moment in Harry Potter where Hermione punches Draco Malfoy in the face, this is the book series for you. Next on my list of feel-good comfort books, I have the Harry Potter series and The Hobbit. I paired these together because they have the same kind of nostalgic feel, and at least with the first three or so books of Harry Potter, they're not too dark and heavy. They are, adventure, chosen one type books that still manage to have a lot of very light elements to them. They're both kind of light, heartfelt, comedic, but still manage to have those serious kind of plot moments. I'm including the first three or so Harry Potter books because I feel by about book 4, the series starts to get darker, and that's when we see our first real major death. In this list of kind of feel good, make you feel better than when you started reading them, I'm straying a little away from kind of darker books. Following The Hobbit and Harry Potter, and still in mostly the same vein, I have Magicians. This is a book that manages to capture all of the nostalgia of Harry Potter and Narnia with kind of the otherworldly feel of Through the Looking Glass, Alice in Wonderland. This is a twist on what has really become a classic way of telling fantasy chosen one books, with the unique factor that our main character is perhaps not actually the most important person to this story, which is not often done, and this book does it very well. And last, but certainly not least, in our science fiction and fantasy section, I have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe and Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, both by Douglas Adams. These are both very light-hearted, comedic books that are wacky and really out there and just so much fun to read. They read at times almost like satire, almost like sitcoms. In with these books, I would probably also put Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. It has a very similar vibe where he manages to mix, big saving the world plot lines with just incredibly funny, off the beat narration and story elements. The first books out of my pile of books on classics are Little Lord Fauntleroy and Secret Garden. Both of these books focus on children who move in with some kind of older relative, and through the power of their whimsy and just their being children, manage to show these older family members that life is not so bad. These are both incredibly heartfelt, very kind of warming, cozy, restore your hope in humanity kind of books. To go along with that cozy, restore your hope in humanity kind of books, I have Little Women and Little Men, or really any books by Louisa May Alcott. Both of these books focus on this family of three girls through their life from childhood all the way through, in Little Men, Jo being an adult and having children of her own, running a school and an orphanage kind of. Although both books have darker moments that may leave you wanting to put your book in the freezer, the overall feeling that you are left with after reading them is just a sense of uplift. The next book that I would recommend as a feel-good book that would be a good read in quarantine is The Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This book, kind of like Little Women, is a bit darker, maybe, but I included it on this list because through our main character, we get to see that even in the darkest times, there's always something positive. You just have to believe it. Another book that really holds a high level of nostalgia in our society that I've included is Narnia. Well, I guess this is a bind-up of like all of the books, so the Narnia series, the Narnia universe. This story is oddly apropos at this moment, where the Pevensies, go to Narnia and in a way to escape, the horrors that are happening in the outside world. And in that same way, this book allows us to escape our, turmoil and stress from the outside world and follow the Pevensies into Narnia. Really a good read at a time like this. And finally, I have The Count of Monte Cristo. This is an epic read about adventure and romance, and what is better at a time when you are locked inside and can't go out and are just getting antsy, but to go on a great adventure with your main characters. I hope that you found at least one book on this list, I guess it's a list, that intrigues you or you are interested in picking up to read during this quarantine. I do know that if you don't have any of these books, that several of them, at least the classics, are available for free, usually on Kindle or through Project Gutenberg. There are also apps like Libby that partner with your public library. So if you have a library card, you can use that to have access to all of the audiobooks and ebooks that your library has. I would also urge everyone to continue self-isolating as governments start lifting the mandated quarantines, because we could see an uptick in COVID cases as people go back to regular life. We still do need to focus on flattening that curve and going out as little as really is possible until we have this under control, which right now it still isn't. As always, I encourage you to hit that like button and leave a comment down below, as well as subscribe Don't forget to hit that notification bell because apparently we now need to subscribe twice. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!